Before you clicked on this video, something inside you paused, not by accident, not by chance. There is a reason you are watching this right now, because sometimes in the middle of noise, distraction, and confusion, a message finds its way to you exactly when you need it most. This is not just another video. This may be a moment of clarity, a moment of warning, a moment of preparation. You were meant to hear this, so don't skip, don't scroll away. Take a breath and listen carefully. The chosen one is called, not elevated. The idea of being chosen is often misunderstood. Many assume that to be chosen means to be elevated above others, to be singled out for honor, recognition, or special privilege. But in a deeper sense, being chosen is not about status. It is about responsibility. It is about being entrusted with a role that serves a purpose beyond personal ambition. When someone is called into a task connected to revelation or transformation, the calling does not separate them from others in value. Instead, it places upon them a weight, a duty that must be carried with humility and clarity. A calling is not self-appointed. It is not pursued for admiration. It emerges from alignment with purpose. This distinction matters because elevation creates distance. Calling creates service. Elevation suggests superiority. Calling implies stewardship. The chosen one is not lifted above others to rule or dominate their position within a moment where their actions can contribute to understanding. Their role is functional rather than ornamental. They serve as participants in a process larger than themselves. This understanding reframes what it means to be chosen. It shifts attention from personal gain to collective benefit. The chosen one does not act to advance their own recognition. Instead, they help illuminate a path that others can see. And often, this calling is accompanied by challenge rather than comfort. Responsibility can isolate. Expectation can weigh heavily. Decisions carry consequence. Such burdens reveal that calling is less about reward and more about commitment. It requires resilience. It demands integrity. It invites perseverance even when outcomes remain uncertain. In this way, the chosen one's experience is shaped not by privilege but by obligation. Their focus must remain outward, toward purpose, toward truth, toward the needs of others, navigating the same unfolding reality. This outward orientation prevents the role from becoming self-centered. It anchors the chosen one in service. Their task is to reflect insight rather than claim authority, to encourage recognition rather than demand allegiance, to guide rather than control. Such a posture maintains balance. It ensures that the role contributes to unity rather than division. Understanding calling in this way also underscores its temporary nature. A role assigned for a moment does not define identity forever. Once its purpose is fulfilled, the emphasis shifts. The message continues. The messenger recedes. This preserves the integrity of the process. It prevents the emergence of dependency on personality rather than engagement with truth. Ultimately, the chosen one's significance lies not in distinction, but in dedication. Their contribution stems from willingness to act responsibly within a specific context. They embody participation rather than elevation, and through that participation, they assist in advancing understanding during critical moments. Seen in this light, being chosen is less about standing above others and more about standing for something, a commitment to clarity, a readiness to serve, a readiness to carry responsibility when it is needed most. White. This understanding keeps the focus where it belongs, on purpose rather than prestige. Revelation is a process. Revelation is often imagined as a sudden, dramatic moment, a flash of clarity that appears instantly and transforms everything at once. But in reality, revelation is rarely instantaneous. It is a process. It unfolds gradually, layer by layer, across time. Truth does not always emerge in full clarity all at once. Instead, it becomes visible through stages, moments of insight, reflection, and recognition that build upon each other. This unfolding allows individuals and communities to grow into understanding rather than being overwhelmed by it. If truth appeared in its entirety without preparation, it could be difficult to comprehend or accept. The process of revelation provides space for reflection. It invites questioning. It encourages learning. Over time, what once seemed hidden becomes more visible. Patterns begin to connect, meaning becomes clearer. The chosen one participates in this unfolding not as the origin of truth, but as someone who helps draw attention to what is gradually being revealed. Their role is to recognize emerging clarity and articulate it in ways that others can engage with. In this sense, revelation resembles a dawn rather than a lightning strike. At first, only faint light appears on the horizon. Gradually, shapes and contours become distinguishable. Eventually, full visibility arrives. Each stage prepares the way for the next. Without the earlier light, the later clarity would not be possible. This gradual emergence also allows for integration. People need time to adjust to new understanding. People need time to adjust to new understanding. They need to reconcile fresh insight with prior experience. The process helps ensure that revelation leads to transformation rather than confusion, fosters resilience rather than shock. Throughout history, significant shifts in awareness have followed this pattern. New ideas often begin quietly. They encounter resistance. They gain recognition. They reshape perception. In time, they become part of collective understanding. Revelation operates similarly. It involves movement from partial awareness to fuller comprehension. This movement depends on engagement. Individuals must remain attentive. Communities must remain open. Without such engagement, the unfolding may pass unnoticed. The process also highlights responsibility. As understanding grows, choices gain importance. New clarity invites new action. Recognition encourages alignment with deeper truth. In this way, revelation is not passive. It calls for a response. The chosen one's presence can help sustain focus during this progression. By acknowledging each stage, they assist others in navigating change without losing orientation. They serve as reminders that unfolding takes time, that patience is essential, that clarity develops through experience. Ultimately, viewing revelation as a process emphasizes continuity. It connects past insight with future understanding. It prevents the assumption that transformation must occur instantly, and it reinforces the idea that growth happens through engagement over time. In this unfolding journey, each stage matters. Each step prepares the next. And through this steady progression, revelation becomes not only visible, but meaningful. The chosen one serves as a witness in moments of transition. When uncertainty rises and understanding seems distant, the role of the chosen one is not to command or control, but to witness. A witness does not create the truth. A witness recognizes it. They observe what is unfolding and help bring attention to its meaning. This distinction is essential. The pearl, chosen one, is not the source of revelation. One is not the source of revelation. They are the reflector of it. Their presence points beyond themselves towards something greater. By standing in alignment with emerging clarity, they help others see what might otherwise remain unnoticed. Throughout history, witnesses have played crucial roles during periods of change. They articulate what many feel but cannot yet express. They give language to intuition. They illuminate patterns that are forming beneath the surface. In this way, they act as bridges between perception and understanding. The witness does not impose interpretation. Instead, they invite reflection. Their task is not to demand agreement, but to offer perspective. They present insight in a way that encourages others to consider its significance. This approach fosters participation rather than dependence. It ensures that understanding grows collectively rather than being centralized in a single voice. Witnessing also requires humility, because the focus remains on what is being revealed, not on the one who observes it. The chosen one must remain aware that their role is temporary and functional. They serve the process rather than dominate it. This humility protects the integrity of their contribution. It prevents the message from becoming overshadowed by personality. A witness also carries responsibility to speak truthfully, so to remain attentive, to avoid distortion, where their credibility depends on alignment between observation and expression. When integrity guides their words and actions, trust can develop what others become more willing to explore what is being presented. Witnessing is not always comfortable. Clarity can challenge established assumptions. It may disrupt familiar narratives. It may provoke resistance. Yet the witness remains steady, grounded in the commitment to reflect what is emerging. They do not force acceptance. They allow recognition to unfold naturally. In this way, the chosen one's role supports awakening. By highlighting moments of insight, they encourage others to engage with evolving understanding. They create space for dialogue. They open pathways for exploration. Their presence becomes a reminder that truth can be approached thoughtfully rather than fearfully. Importantly, witnessing is relational. It connects individual experience with collective awareness. As insight is shared, it gains depth. It becomes part of a broader conversation. This shared engagement strengthens community. It reduces isolation. It fosters unity around emerging clarity. Ultimately, the chosen one serves as a witness not to elevate themselves, but to illuminate what is being revealed. They help ensure that unfolding truth is seen, considered, and integrated. Through their attentiveness and articulation, they assist others in navigating transition with greater understanding. Their role is not to dominate the narrative, but to help bring its deeper meaning into view. The great deception before the final revelation unfolds, there will come a period marked not by obvious chaos, but by subtle and widespread deception. This deception will not initially appear evil. In fact, it will seem persuasive, compassionate, intelligent, and even righteous. That is precisely what will make it so dangerous. Throughout history, humanity has expected darkness to look like darkness, obvious corruption, visible oppression, open rebellion against truth. But the final deception will not operate in such a crude way. Instead, it will present itself as enlightenment. It will claim to offer unity, peace, progress, and liberation. Many will believe the world is finally entering its highest stage of moral and spiritual maturity. The deception will target 5 fundamental areas: truth, identity, and worship. Identity and worship. First, truth will become blurred. Objective reality will slowly be replaced by subjective experience. People will begin to believe that what is true for one person may not be true for another. Moral absolutes will be redefined as personal perspectives. Right and wrong will no longer be anchored in eternal principles, but in shifting cultural consensus. Over time, this will erode humanity's ability to recognize falsehood. Second, identity will be destabilized. Humanity will be encouraged to define itself apart from its created purpose. The understanding of what it means to be human spiritually, morally, and relation will be reshaped. People will seek meaning through self-construction rather than divine origin. The more humanity attempts to reinvent itself, the more disconnected it will become from the truth of its nature. Third, worship will be redirected. Instead of openly rejecting the divine, the deception will replace authentic devotion with substitutes. Humanity will be guided toward reverence for systems, ideologies, and even itself. The shift will be subtle. Devotion will move from the transcendent to the immanent, from the eternal to the immediate. At the center of this deception will be a powerful narrative that humanity can save itself. Technological advancement, political unity, and moral redefinition will be presented as the path to global harmony. Humanity will be told that salvation lies in its own hands through innovation, collaboration, and collective will. The idea of dependence on divine authority will be reframed as primitive or restrictive. As this mindset spreads, resistance to it will be labeled as ignorance, intolerance, or even hostility toward progress. Those who question the prevailing narrative will find themselves marginalized. The deception will not require force at first. Sotsur, pressure will be sufficient. Another critical element of this deception will be counterfeit spirituality. There will be a rise in practices that appear mystical or transcendent, but are detached from truth. These will promise enlightenment without repentance, peace without transformation, and power without humility. They will appeal to humanity's desire for meaning while avoiding the discomfort of moral accountability. This counterfeit spirituality will create an illusion of divine connection while subtly severing the genuine relationship between humanity and its creator. Importantly, the deception will not engulf everyone immediately. There will remain a remnant who sense that something is deeply wrong. They may not always be able to articulate it, but they will perceive the inconsistency between the promise of the new order and the reality it produces. This tension will grow. Despite promises of unity, division will increase. Despite assurances of freedom, control will tighten. Despite claims of progress, the human spirit will feel increasingly restless. Eventually, the deception will reach its peak, a moment when it appears that humanity has achieved its ultimate breakthrough. A system of thought, governance, and belief will stand poised to unify the world under a shared vision. And yet, beneath its polished exterior, it will rest upon a rejection of truth. This is what makes the deception so significant. It will not simply oppose goodness, it will imitate it. It will offer peace, but without truth, unity, but without freedom, hope, but without redemption. Only when the illusion is fully exposed will humanity begin to see that what appeared to be light was, in reality, a carefully crafted shadow. And it is at that moment, when deception reaches its height, that the stage will finally be set for the true revelation to begin. The moment of glow, Baal awakening. There will come a moment in history when the illusion that has guided humanity begins to fracture. What once appeared stable will start to tremble. Systems once trusted without question will reveal their weaknesses. Promises that inspired confidence will begin to ring hollow. This moment will not arrive suddenly, like a storm crashing upon the shore. It will emerge like a slow, dawning realization spreading across the world. At first, the awakening will be subtle. People in different parts of the world, separated by culture and language, will begin to sense that something is not right. The narratives they once accepted without hesitation will feel incomplete. The solutions once offered as permanent will seem temporary. The confidence placed in human structures will begin to waver. This awakening will not be driven by a single event. Instead, it will unfold through a convergence of experiences, moral confusion, spiritual emptiness, and a growing awareness that progress alone has not answered humanity's deepest questions. For generations, humanity will have been taught to trust in its own capacity for self-redemption. It will believe that knowledge, technology, and unity can construct a perfect world. But over time, cracks will appear. Therefore, despite increased connectivity, loneliness will deepen. Despite material abundance, dissatisfaction will grow. Despite louder declarations of unity, division will intensify. The world will begin to notice the contradiction between what it was promised and what it is experiencing. This realization will spark a quiet unrest. People will begin to ask questions they had long avoided. Why does advancement not bring peace? Why does freedom not bring fulfillment? Why does progress not bring meaning? As these questions spread, a shift will occur in the collective consciousness of humanity. The focus will begin to move from external achievement to internal truth. This awakening will not be comfortable. For many, it will feel like standing on uncertain ground after years of perceived stability. Institutions once seen as guardians of order will appear limited. Ideologies once embraced as solutions will feel inadequate. Realization will grow that humanity has attempted to build a future without first understanding its origin. At this point, a deeper search will begin. Across nations and cultures, individuals will start looking beyond material explanations. The hunger for something transcendent will resurface. Old spiritual questions, long dismissed as outdated, will return with renewed urgency. What is the purpose of existence? What is the nature of truth? What lies beyond human understanding? This global awakening will not produce immediate agreement. In fact, it may initially increase tension. Some will cling more tightly to the systems that once gave them security, while others will seek entirely new paths. But beneath the diversity of responses, a shared realization will take root. Humanity alone cannot fulfill its own deepest needs. This moment will mark a turning point. The confidence that once fueled the great deception will begin to fade. In its place will grow humility born from experience, the recognition that intelligence without wisdom, power without virtue, and unity without truth cannot sustain the human spirit. Importantly, this awakening will not yet be the final revelation. It will instead prepare the ground for it. Just as night reaches its deepest darkness before the first hint of dawn, humanity will pass through a period of uncertainty before clarity emerges. During this time, individuals will begin to rediscover the importance of conscience, the value of truth, and the necessity of moral grounding. There will be a renewed openness to transcendence, not as an abstract idea, but as a living reality. The world will begin to shift from self-assurance to searching. And in that searching, humanity will unknowingly prepare itself for what comes next, because awakening is not the destination, it is the invitation. It is the moment when the human heart, having exhausted every illusion of self-sufficiency, becomes ready to encounter something greater than itself. And when that readiness spreads across the world, the stage will be set for the final revelation to move from possibility into reality. The final revelation and restoration after deception reaches its peak and awakening begins to stir across the world. History moves toward its defining moment, the final revelation. This revelation is not merely the exposure of error, it is the unveiling of ultimate truth. For generations, humanity will have wrestled with confusion, division, and uncertainty. Systems will have risen and fallen. Ideologies will have promised salvation and failed to deliver it. Spiritual hunger will have intensified as human solutions prove insufficient. The final revelation comes at the precise moment when humanity is most aware of its limitations. It is not an arbitrary interruption of history. It is the culmination of it. Throughout the unfolding drama of time, truth will have been present, sometimes ignored, sometimes misunderstood, sometimes rejected. The final revelation removes all ambiguity. It draws a clear line between illusion and reality. What was hidden becomes visible. What was doubted becomes undeniable. What was contested becomes clear. This revelation is not simply informational. It is transformational. It affects not only what people know, but how they live. In that moment, the confusion that once clouded moral judgment will dissipate. The competing narratives that fought for dominance will collapse under the weight of undeniable clarity. Humanity will recognize the difference between self-made promises and eternal truth. Importantly, this revelation is not about humiliation. It is about restoration, for truth does not reveal itself merely to expose error. It reveals itself to heal it. The restoration that follows will touch every level of existence. Spiritually, it will realign humanity with its original purpose. The separation that grew over generations, fueled by pride, misunderstanding, and rebellion, will begin to close. Morally, it will reestablish objective foundations. Right and wrong will no longer be matters of negotiation or opinion. Justice will no longer depend on shifting cultural standards. A stable moral order will return. Relationally, division will begin to dissolve. The hostility created by deception will give way to reconciliation. Communities once fractured by ideology will find new unity grounded in truth rather than convenience. Even creation itself, long strained under the weight of human disorder, will experience renewal. The restoration is comprehensive because the damage was comprehensive. Where deception distorted, revelation corrects. Where pride divided, truth reconciles. Where confusion weakened, clarity strengthens. The chosen one's role in this moment reaches its fulfillment. The witness who once pointed toward truth will no longer need to speak as a voice in the wilderness. The message they reflected will stand fully revealed. Attention will shift completely from the messenger to the reality unveiled. This is the true turning point of history, not the climax of conflict, but the triumph of truth. Not the victory of one group over another, but the restoration of alignment between humanity and its creator. There will be accountability, for truth naturally exposes what was done in darkness. But accountability is not the same as destruction. It is the necessary step toward justice and renewal. The final revelation will bring peace, not the fragile peace negotiated by compromise, but the enduring peace rooted in righteousness. It will bring freedom, not the freedom to define reality at will, but the freedom found in living within truth. It will bring unity, not forced conformity, but harmony grounded in shared recognition of what is real. In the end, history will not conclude in chaos. It will conclude in clarity. The long struggle between illusion and truth will resolve. The searching heart of humanity will find its answer, and the restoration that follows will mark not simply the end of an age, but the beginning of one rooted fully in light.